It's been 3 years since the takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban government. There has been a lot of forward movement when it comes to engagements of the new Afghan government in various countries and various parts of the world. But what does it really mean for Afghanistan? To discuss what has been done so far and where is Afghanistan headed, I'm being joined by Suhail Shaheen, the spokesperson of the Afghan government. Thank you so much, Suhail Saab, for this opportunity for an exclusive conversation with you yet again.
Thank you so much. I think though I didn't hear you clearly, but during the 3 years, there is a lot of progress in various fields, particularly in economic fields. Some mega projects have been launched. One of them is the Pushtipak Canal project, which will bring under irrigation about 3 million acres of land. Similarly, infrastructure projects have been started and some of them completed. Thousands of kilometers of roads have been constructed and macadamized. Furthermore, during the past 2 years, about 2,000 factories have been established or built throughout the country. And in the same way, more than 10,000 trade license, business license have been issued to women entrepreneurs in the country, while it was 2,000 during the past regime, even they were talking about women rights. But throughout 20 years that our country was under occupation, they issued about 2,000 business license for women. We have issued more than 10,000. So there is a lot of progress, though it should one bear in mind that we are under sanctions, economic sanction. If we were not under economic sanction, there would have been more progress.
All right, that's a very interesting point you make. You're talking about the economic progress, the infrastructure development. But Suhail Saab, Afghanistan under your government is still not recognized. Is that something that has been a real roadblock for you? And do you see any movement forward for recognition over here? Because there are certain things, certain demands that the international community has put for a recognition, even if that should be the case.
Yes, I think the recognition is something being used by some countries as a pressure against Afghanistan in the current regime, because we have all the conditions that which qualify us for recognition. We have control all over the country. We have the capability to defend our people, our country. We have the support of our people of all ethnicities. So we have all these conditions, and we have also achieved, as I said before, some economic progress despite all the problems that we are facing. So we have the condition, but some countries, they use it as a pressure. I would like to say that there are many countries in the world, they also are not have the same condition or the same, in terms of, we say, like girls' education, like they are in Europe. Every country has its culture and its way of living. But of course, based on our culture and tradition, this issue would be solved in future.
Are there any conditions, specific conditions, only to do with women or otherwise also that have been put for international recognition? Because we do know that Russia, China, many other countries are engaging the Afghan government, including the Indian government. There are high level engagements that are now taking place. But what is the key to recognition?
Yes, some countries they say that it's your internal issue, though they want that they uh, discuss this with us, the women education issue. But say ultimately it is your internal issue. You have to tackle this issue. We want uh, trade relation with you. We want cooperation with you. We want a country to country positive relation with you, which is in your interest, in our interest. They are telling us this. So also with India, Afghanistan in India has trade relation and other friend relation in the past. That should be country to country, people to people relation. It's one issue should not be um, an impediment for not having a relation. We want a relation with all our countries, which are regional countries, neighboring countries, and particularly trade relation, which are good for us and for them, for their people and for our people.
Well, so Elsa, when it comes to the sanctions, it seems like the international community is not going to roll back on sanctions unless and until they see forward movement on women's rights. Where do you stand? Where does Kabul stand on women's rights? We do have, there are still reports coming in of curtailment of rights for women, that women are not allowed a higher education or even for that matter, education in rural areas. So where is Kabul at when it comes to women's rights and education of girls?
First of all, the picture is not what is being portrayed by some media. For example, we have about 150,000 women, nurses, lady doctors in the Ministry of Public Health. We have 90,000 teachers in the Ministry of Education. Similarly, we have women employees, officials in the Ministry of Interior, as a policewoman. In the investigation section, we have women in the national ID department, women in other, also in the education ministry, their offices and others where they are needed. Furthermore, all women who were working in the past regime, they are receiving their salaries while they are at whom they are regularly receiving their salaries. So it is not the picture is not that there is no women are working or the picture is very negative. It is not that.
But is there more work to be done? What's the kind of work that your government is doing to ensure that the world is convinced that this Taliban is different from the Taliban of the 90s and 2000?
We have our uh, rules, Islamic rules. So that is not changed. And the people of Afghanistan, they want us. They support that because the more than 99% of the people of Afghanistan, they are Muslim. They want this government. If we had not support of the people of Afghanistan, we would not have been able to confront and stand up to 54 countries of the world in being led by the superpower. So it was the support of the people of Afghanistan. There was no one to help us in terms of weapon and money, but because of the support of the people, we were recruiting from our people. They were providing shelter to us, helping us in various ways. And this was the consequence was that we were able to, to force the foreign forces to withdraw from our country. So, of course, our policy, as it was before, and it is also now, but now it is being implemented and more focuses on them, that we have good conduct with the people of Afghanistan. So I think this is the difference. That now this rule is being implemented to have good conduct with the common people, to share their pain, to address their grievances, their problem, their issues as far as we can. So this is, but in the past, as you know, there were internal war, domestic war in Afghanistan. So the budget were being spent on the war rather than on economic projects. Now, much of that the budget is being spent on economic projects which create employment for the people, and the people are happy with that. So I see this difference.
Well, that's again a very important point you make, Suhail Saab, but there is an issue of terrorism. Afghanistan still faces terror attacks. What are the details that you have or you hear on the issues and the challenges of terrorism that still exists for the Afghan government?
Yes, if you compare it with the past, we 300 about 300 people were killed every day because of the war in the country. Now, no one is killed because of the war. The war has been stopped, and there is peace all over the country. One can travel from one corner of the country to another, day and night. The business have flourished. So I think there is a lot of progress if we see in that, and also the projects. War has been stopped. There are economic projects. There is a peace, and the attacks of there was a physical presence of ISIS, Daesh, during the past regime. Though there was American forces here, but they were not able to flash them out. When we took power, there is no physical presence of ISIS. Maybe there are some individual in the cities, but we are after them, and they are detained time and again. And if you compare in the past, their attacks have been reduced, and many of them have gone from Afghanistan. They have gone to other countries, to neighboring countries, to other countries. They are planning their attacks from there. The organizer is not inside Afghanistan, and other countries, they are there. So we have been able to reduce the threat of ISIS as well, and maintain the security during the past 3 years.
Well, what about food security? We do know that because of the sanctions, while you're talking about economic growth, do you still face acute food shortages that were reported earlier by various organizations, including UNDP?
Yes, the food, there is a food shortages, but it is not, it is because of the sanctions. If there was no sanction, there would not have been food shortages. But we had, during the 3 years, we have taken some steps which has increased the wheat harvest produce and other agriculture produced. But still, it is not to the level to satisfy the demand of our national demand for food. So I call on the international community to remove the sanction because they sanction are targeting the common people. The common people are the one who suffer from these sanctions, not the government. Particularly when they are speaking of human rights, but at the same time they target the common people through their sanction. I think it is against, contradicts what they are saying.
Right. Again, I'll have to go back to women because women actually suffer at the hands of anything, even food shortages. You'll see women suffering more than men over here. But going back, there's this clarity that we require because there are a lot of reports and they're mostly Western media reports. So, seeking clarification from you, Suhail Saab, have the harsh bans on women been reinstated by the government, and also corporal punishment, public flogging, has that also been reinstated, including a threat to reinstate death for adultery? Are all these issues back on the table?
Though because your voice is low, sometimes I can't hear you clearly. But about the Palestine, there are courts, and the primary court and secondary court, the court of appeal, and the court of cassation. There are courts one can go to the courts. They are prosecuted according to the law, and no one is punished without evidence. And they are given right of defense. They can defend themselves. So without any evidence, no one is punished. It is not the picture is not what is portrayed in the media.
So there's no public flogging.
I invite you and others journalists to come to Afghanistan and see the ground realities with their own eyes. You will have a clear picture and clear perception.
Okay, I intend to travel to Afghanistan, so thank you there. But moving to your bilateral relations, Pakistan had been an important partner, but it seems like right now, for Pakistan, a bigger problem is TTP, and there is a bigger border problem today that exists between Afghanistan and Pakistan. What is the situation on that front and on Afghanistan's position on TTP?
TTP is not a part of Afghanistan. They are Pakistanis and inside Pakistan. Their all operation are the inside Pakistan, and it is their internal issue, and they have to deal with their security issues internally. What we is related to us is that to not allow our soil to be used against any country. We are doing that what we are in our capacity. Of course, that is our commitment. But there may be some internal issues, security issues in other countries that I think is their responsibility to tackle that. However, generally, we want peace and security in our neighboring countries and also region. As we are rebuilding our country, the stability and peace in the region help us to better rebuild our country, to Afghanistan become hub of commerce. And there is a lot of big projects in Afghanistan, like a railway line from Uzbekistan through Afghanistan to Pakistan, and these TAPI projects from Turkmenistan through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then to India. When there is instability and lack of security, law or order law and order situation in the region, how we can complete or start these projects. So we want stability, but the internal security is, I think, there is their responsibility to focus on.
Well, Suhail Saab, Islamabad has long accused Afghanistan-based TTP militants of attacking within Pakistan but having safe havens in Afghanistan. What do you have to say to that?
I think if they have evidence, the diplomatic channels are open. We want to solve issues through diplomatic channels, not through media outlets. These evidence should be taken to our side through the diplomatic channels and discussed and try to find a way acceptable to both sides. We are ready to that. But what is being only used as in the media as a accusation against one another, that will not solve the issue and also will complicate it rather than solving it.
On a more positive note, Afghanistan, the Afghan cricket team particularly, Suhail Saab, has done spectacularly well. It was noticed in the last World Cup cricket, and but they still play under the erstwhile Afghan flag. There is a lot of engagement that I see between the Afghan cricketers and the administration in Kabul, but the situation when it comes to how Afghanistan and Afghan players are representing themselves on international platforms remains the same. How is the Taliban government, how is the IEA looking at merging or collaborating or bringing them on the same page?
So the cricket board is based in Kabul, and they are our national team. And I know India has helped our team, training them, helping them, which is something good, and we are grateful for that. And we see the achievement made. We see a great contribution of India in this regard. So it is our team, Afghan team, and the people of Afghanistan love cricket and support this team. I think the other minor issue is not so important to make it an issue.
Despite all the sanctions and the blockades that we see for Afghanistan, you still have managed to engage various countries. How do relations with India stand at this point in time? You just spoke about India supporting the Afghan cricket team, but what's there beyond that? What are the high-level engagements that we are seeing and that we can expect?
Yeah, there is a lot of opportunities that the two countries can engage with each other. There should be a pragmatic approach between the two countries because based on the national interest, which is good for the people of Afghanistan, your people. And one of them is you had some projects in the past which are not complete and needs to be completed. And there are in the health sector, we have need in the people of Afghanistan. I said a lot of need. There is needs for hospital of disease like cancer, in the cardiology field, in other fields, So I think we have a lot of fields to engage with, to have established relation and cooperation with each other, and renew our traditional relation, which have been through of the centuries.
So, Elsa, one of the biggest concerns for India has been the security of minorities in Afghanistan. We've seen a lot of the Sikh brothers and sisters of India who actually were attacked in Afghanistan by their own people, by the Afghans there. They're also Afghans. They're Sikh Afghans, and then they had to bring their holy book to India. Is there any assurance of security for minorities in Afghanistan?
Oh, yes, yes. There is no. Our policy is zero discrimination against minorities. We do not have any kind of minority. They have freedom to perform their ritual, and not only now, but even when during the past 20 years, while we were fighting for liberation of our country, at the same time were trying to protect the rights of minorities. And Bhaktia and other provinces, in Kunar in other provinces where their Hindus or Sikhs are living. So even recently, as a commission has been established to return the property of minorities to them when they produce their documents. So there is no security problems for them. They can return to their country, that is their country, and they can live peacefully and take part in the construction of their country as any Afghans. And even they have can participate in the government based on their qualification and needs.
Well, but no action has been taken against those who targeted Hindus and Sikhs in Afghanistan. They were beaten, their houses were vandalized, their places of worship was vandalized, their holy books were desecrated, sir. But there was no action, and there still is no action. So, how can people sitting here, looking at what's happening in Afghanistan, actually think of going back to Afghanistan? And I'm talking about Afghan Sikhs and Afghan Hindus.
No, of course, there was, first of all, no incident has happened in the past 3 years, except one or two. And regarding those incidents, action have been taken immediately. Even at that time, I think the response was very quick from the authorities. So this is what I know, you know. It's not like maybe in the media, as I said, always they depict or portray a different picture, which is not the ground realities.
Okay, so Suhail sir, just moving a little to geopolitics. Afghanistan has always been very important, geopolitically a very important country, strategically a very important country, and has always been a point of contention between the superpowers. In this case, in today's times, we see a fight for supremacy between US and China. In such a scenario, where do you see Afghanistan placed, and where do you see your policies placed when it comes to China and when it comes to America?
Our policy is a balanced policy. We do not want to be part of a bloc, a military bloc against another. We have opened our embrace for investment, both from USA and European countries, China and Russia, India, our neighboring countries to Pakistan, Iran, Uzbekistan, and other neighboring countries. We want to rebuild our country. So we want Afghanistan to become hub of commerce and trade, as it was historically. And we see this is good for all the countries, for neighboring and regional countries in the international community. So this is our policy is balance, and it is clear. Yeah.
Right. My final questions to you are on the conflict that you see today in West Asia, the conflict between Israel and Hamas. How did Afghanistan, because we've seen the engagement between Afghan administration and the parties in Gaza as well. How does Afghanistan view the assassination, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh?
I think the Palestinians have a right to have an independent country. And, more than 40,000 people, women, children, have been martyred, killed in their own land, while they are demanding their legitimate right. It is against humanity in all laws. No one has right to invade another country and kill them in their own land because they want an independent country. So I think all the countries of the world who advocate for human rights, for children's rights, women's rights, should stand with the people of Palestine and support their legitimate cause and right. This is our stand. And we condemned what is the bloodshed and the killing being continuing at the hand of Israel and the military invaders.
Is there any support that you extend to the Hamas, or is there any support that you could extend in the future to the Hamas?
No, we have, we are a new country building our country, but the moral support that I mentioned, always we support their cause and condemned what is being done at the hand of Israelis.
All right. And finally, my last question to you. How do you see a future Afghanistan that could be more democratic, that could be welcomed by all the countries and international community? Is there a vision that you have for a better Afghanistan?
Yes, I think that we made progress economically in the past 3 years. In other peace, the peace we are maintaining, that the rights we are giving to our people, I think we will have a very country prosperous, economically progress, having positive relation with other countries. Even I can say in the past there was torture in prisons, but now we have a role. There is no torture in our prisons. This is more human, and even they provided education for them. Many prisoners they are getting education, secondary education, and other education, religious education, secondary education, and even they can apply for university education. So this was not the case. I have heard when I was in Kabul, I met the Director General of Prisons, and he said some of the detainees, their term was completed. And we requested him, you can go, you are free. They said, no, I will not go. I want to remain here to complete my education.
That's an interesting point. Again, I know I have to let you go, but one final question, Suhail Saab. There are a lot of embassies of yours that are running out of cash because the Taliban government, the government in Kabul, is not supporting the embassies. The embassies still have people who are not a part of the current government and current administration. How are you looking at resolving this issue of who's going to be in the embassies? And you can only have your people in the embassies when you're recognized by that country. So this is a catch-22 situation that you're facing with embassies across the world, Afghan embassies across the world.
You mean our embassy in India?
In India, in US, in UK, in most parts of the world. How are you trying to manage that when your people are not there? They are still dissenters of the current government in the embassy. Running the embassy is becoming difficult. Countries have not recognized you, so there cannot be an ambassador here from the government at this point in time. How are you looking at diplomacy then?
Yes. First, we have our diplomats in about 40 countries of the world. We have sent diplomats to these countries. And this is one thing. Secondly, those diplomats from the previous regime, they should have contacts in communication with our foreign ministry so that they can continue their work, because the documents being issued by them needs to be considered as valid by the foreign ministry. Thirdly, those diplomats who are not working for Afghanistan and only for their particular parties or for their own pockets, they receive the fees for passports and other documents and put it in their own private pockets. So for that, we issued a statement that the foreign ministry doesn't have to do with those people. Only those who report to the foreign ministry and send what they issue the documents and visas. I think that they are valid with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and and their what action they take, and they are it is illegal. On those who are only lining their own private pockets, I think they are illegal, their action, and it doesn't have to do with the foreign ministry.
You have 40 diplomats in 40 countries without being actually officially recognized.
Sorry, if you could repeat.
You have diplomats in 40 countries without actually being recognized.
Yes.
That's
Yes, we have sent diplomats to about 40 countries of the world.
Right. Suhail Shaheen Saab, it's been 3 years of your government in Kabul. We are yet to see how Afghanistan will be recognized by the world, but assurances have been made on a lot of security when it comes to minorities, particularly those who turn to India when they feel unsafe. Thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.